So it's been one of the hottest topics on YouTube. It's been one of the hottest topics on the internet, and it's been a long-standing conversation for years now on which is the better investment vehicle, which is going to bring you the better returns, which is going to build the most wealth, sustain the test of time between stocks and real estate. So the goal of this video is to give the deepest possible context and answering some of the most pertinent questions a lot of us have when we're trying to figure out which is the best avenue to take, where to focus and concentrate our time, energy, and investment. And also try to give you a professional breakdown. I'm gonna give you a gift in this live stream that's gonna cover a professional breakdown on how I would, analyze stocks or real estate for you if you were my one-to-one client. I'm gonna do my best to do that as general as possible, given the fact that I'm not actually working with you one-to-one. So this live stream is gonna be packed with value, as they all are, with the intent of going over some of the most pertinent questions that you may have, particularly in the Black community when it comes to stock versus real estate investing. We've seen, past and current prominent figures in the content creation space, even like EYL has put out a video not that long ago that I've mentioned in previous videos that basically encourage the idea of stocks being a much better investment than a primary residence. These kind of videos coming from prominent individuals like an EYL or Earn Your Leisure can really influence your financial decision making, and more importantly, honestly speaking, it can really influence you taking action whatsoever. So shout out to my guy, everybody coming into the building. Leave a like, let me know you're in the building. Shout out to you, Credit Cousin. It's a gift to see you, young sir. I appreciate you. Everybody watching replay by chance of this, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know you're in the building as well. I'm very responsive in the comment section. Any questions that you may have, leave me a super chat. I'll be glad to get to it. Other than that, I'm gonna salute every single one of y'all coming into the building. So we need to have this very important discussion, because what really ends up happening is we end up with paralysis, because you run into so many different people with so many passionate opinions about real estate versus stocks. And you rarely ever see anybody talk about both being a great vehicle. And some cases, both may not be the best option. And that's what this video is really dedicated to, try to get in the weeds of and cover the context of. It's not the best idea for everybody. So we need to ask the right questions, and we need to get the questions that we have answered to give us the clarity we need to take action. Because at the end of the day, none of it matters if you don't move the needle, if you don't start taking action. It doesn't matter if it's stocks, real estate, crypto. It doesn't matter what your investment vehicle is. If you don't take the time out to make it a priority to get started and stay started, then you're going to be broke regardless. So this live stream is to demystify two very time-tested, proven asset classes. And again, to dive into some of the more pertinent questions that are out there. So the first thing that we need to touch on is the trust and historical context around investing in either one, right? Some of the questions that we may have is going to be, how can I be sure that the financial institution that I'm working with will treat me fairly? Historically speaking, discriminatory practices like redlining, unfair lending, and disrespect from financial institutions have created a deep-seated mistrust of mainstream financial institutions. So right out of the gate, we have an inherent distrust for financial institutions, and that's for Americans, period, in a lot of cases, but it is particularly prominent in the Black community. And so we need to address that. We need to start understanding how to develop the kind of relationships with an institution and develop the kind of financial literacy that gives us the confidence to work with financial institutions on our journey to invest in real estate or stocks. It doesn't matter which route we go. We're going to have to deal with financial institutions either way. So, is the stock market rigged against everyday investors? That's another question that comes up that's around that trust and historical context factor. Compared to other groups, Black investors are more likely to perceive the stock market as inherently unfair. This often leads to questions about how to protect their investments and level the playing field. So for a lot of us, we can be honest about this as well. If you don't have real world experience or real world education or financial literacy around the stock market, it is very difficult to tell the difference between it and gambling, it and a just flat out rigged game. And that's very important because, again, that's one of those different, fears, concerns, or levels of distrust that can lead to inaction. So it needs to be treated. It needs to be attended to. How can I recover from past market failures that have disproportionately affected my community? The subprime mortgage crisis is a great example, 2007, 2008, 2009, which decimated Black wealth, led to many Black Americans' view of real estate less favorably over time. However, the historical significance of owning tangible assets continues to be a major influence. So, real estate is something that is age old as an investment vehicle. Real estate is something that's age old as an investment vehicle. So obviously for many of us, it's going to be a quick and easy go-to as a smart financial move. But as we've learned in the 2008 crisis, and we've learned through rough times in the 2020s, real estate can be a very, very rough, tumultuous place to be when it comes to investing or just the overall financial viability of real estate providing some kind of financial value for you. Hopefully that makes sense. So we've learned the hard way that if you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know what you're getting into, or you don't have your stuff in order, or you just catch the wrong cycle, real estate can be a very, very rough place. The stock market is the same way. Something important to understand about real estate is that it is a much slower moving asset class. It takes many months for real estate to turn over and show itself for good or for bad when cycles come around. And it takes, minutes to hours for the stock market to go haywire. Some news can break out, on the spot, and within moments, the stock market can see very significant shifts. So the stock market is much faster moving. But let's not diverge into that yet. Wealth building and legacy. Which investment will have the biggest impact on building generational wealth? This is kind of the crux of the biggest question that we all ask ourselves that may not be familiar. Many Black Americans prioritize leaving a substantial inheritance and see tangible assets like real estate or a business as a direct way to do so. So we don't typically see stocks as the more viable option. That's not commonly the case. But the reality of it is that stocks can absolutely be passed down and can be phenomenal financial vehicles to do so. They can be a great legacy tool. There's no doubt about that. So which investment provides greater sense of security? It's a big one. A preference for tangible assets is often rooted in the understanding of owning land as has historically been one of the few avenues for building wealth in the Black community. So we typically, as the stock market has been a fundamental financial instrument of capitalism. We didn't get to participate in capitalism very much for a long time, really up until recent decades, in any meaningful way. So when you think about it, land, real estate is something that goes back millennia, right? So this is something that no matter where in the world you are, it's going to be understood to have value. And so it's also something that we've tend to been more likely to get our hands on as Black Americans than participating in the stock market. Unfortunately, our historical participation in the stock market is being a commodity traded on the stock market in its very early inception. So that in itself can leave some really bad psychological scars. And then you double down and say, when we got beyond that, you just weren't allowed to participate, or you were discouraged from participating in it. So the investment to close the racial wealth gap, is important to understand that we own the least in the stock market. We also do in real estate, but we're a lot more active in real estate than we are in the stock market. So when you start asking about generational wealth gaps and you start talking about which is going to close the racial wealth gap and all of these other things, it's hard to not consider the stock market as a viable option in consideration of something that we need to participate in way more if we're looking to get in a more level playing field when it comes to wealth in this country. Everybody coming into the live, make sure y'all leave a like. Let me know you're in the building on the chat with legitimate comments. Leave a like, leave an emoji. Let me know you're in the building. So next questions that pop up that are very, very important. Accessibility and liquidity. The big ones. Do I need a lot of money to start? Access to capital is a major factor. The stock market is far more accessible, allowing individuals to start with small sums, whereas real estate typically requires a much larger upfront investment for down payments and closing costs. These are facts. The stock market is definitely something that in today's world has become democratized, and you have the ability to get into the stock market with dollars, literally dollars. Now, I'm going to be upfront as a financial professional and a FINRA licensed professional as well. I can tell you right now that, if you don't start to get some real capital snowballed into the stock market, you're going to be in it a very long time before you see real gains and real progress. A lot of people won't tell you that. They'll give you under the impression that you can, put $10 a week in and, be a millionaire in 30 years. Listen, I'm not gonna push that for you. Yes, technically the math may say so, but there's so many different factors on, what's going to determine the success of your stock investing. So very important to understand, if you're going to get into stocks, you can start small to get the game going, but it is some point will become essential for you to actually get in the game and build up what you're pouring into that investment. Real estate, hands down, as many zero down strategies as you see and all of these creative financing strategies you see, generally speaking, without a really decent acumen in real estate, you're going to need some money to get in the game. I know that there's a lot of sexy advertisement and social media posts and videos out that are talking about all these different ways to get in with little to no money. I assure you that as a licensed mortgage loan originator, as somebody who's also lent in the private and hard money space, I've actually been a broker in that space. So I'm not just talking to you out of thin air. I'm telling you right now that you generally need capital. And the only way you can navigate not putting capital in, especially when we're talking about real estate investing, there's obviously options if you're looking for a primary residence. There's VA loans, there's USDA loans, there's grant programs that will cover a lot of your down payment and stuff like that, closing costs. Primary residence, not as much, very viable that you can go in with little to no money on a primary residence for different reasons. When we start talking about real estate investing and like building up a portfolio that can really start building generational wealth, you're either going to have cash you're bringing to the deal, or you're going to be borrowing somebody else's money, or you're going to be looking at finding a really, really, really attractive real estate deal. So attractive to the point where the person selling it is willing to finance, and be the bank for you, or come up with a flexible financing plan, or, you get a bunch of other people who are willing to pool their money in, and they're pulling their money in because the deal is so attractive and you don't have to put skin in the game. There's some variation that's going to require either good relationships, a great deal, good real estate acumen. Like, going in with no cash on real estate does not mean you're just going to go in as a novice investor with no connections, no understanding, and no money and start becoming a successful real estate investor. It just does not work that way. Don't let anybody lie to you and tell you anything different. For a 20-year-old man, keep your debt low to no, and start saving now. Yeah, that's big facts, Curtis Cousin. There's no question about that. Regardless of stocks and real estate, you definitely want to keep your debt levels in a respectable range, and you want to start saving up cash because you're going to need money for one of the two. All right, next. Is the perceived risk of investing just in my head? So are there real risks to investing in stocks or investing in real estate? Fear of losing money is a key concern for many Black investors. Exploring the actual risk versus the perceived risk of each option is a common part of the decision-making process. Very important. I literally deal with clients on a daily basis who will park and do nothing just because they can't understand how to discern risk. And it is a tremendously important factor that you have to learn how to navigate, or get somebody you can trust as a professional to help you navigate. You cannot sit in paralysis, because what doesn't get talked about enough, it does on this channel, but doesn't get covered enough, is the opportunity cost of not getting invested on some level or another, stocks or real estate, and the net loss of just sitting in cash with inflation, or the net loss of not having cash and not getting started financially at all, not investing at all, and the hardship that will come in your life, the lack of control, the lack of flexibility that will come in your life as a result of inaction. So you have to be able to discern, or work with a professional who can help you discern real risk versus perceived risk, and tailor it to your specific situation in order to assess which avenue between stocks and real estate is going to make the most sense for you, and what risk that you're willing to tolerate for the long haul in order for those investments to truly pay back for you. Community impact. I know this matters to many of us regardless of our background. How can my investments help my community? The desire to invest in and uplift the Black community is a significant driver. This leads to questions about the impact of investing in Black-owned businesses versus buying the block and buying local-owned real estate. So basically, what you end up having is a scenario, Brown economics. That's funny. Basically, what you have in this scenario is trying to weigh out impact versus investing, or the connection between the two. This is very important. The next one is very similar. Which investment allows for direct community engagement? Real estate can offer a more tangible way to engage with the community, such as creating Black-owned commercial spaces or providing affordable housing. Stock investing, while valuable, may feel more detached from the community. Big point. So many of us are very, very involved in the idea of impact. We're not just focused on individual wealth and success. A good portion of us care about uplifting our entire family and possibly even impacting our entire community. And for that reason, investing in real estate versus investing in stocks, it kind of naturally defaults to stocks, or it defaults to real estate as the more attractive option because it's tangible and you can start right in your neighborhood. You can start to pull stocks in to the impact part of the conversation by just using it as a financial literacy baseline in your community. No, when you invest in the stock market, most of the times you're going to be investing in companies that are not directly like contributing or impacting your community in that type of way. That's a fact. Even when you're investing in Black-owned companies in the stock market, it's still not the same thing as buying real estate in your actual neighborhood or in your zip code that can really improve the area. So it's not the same. Real estate is going to have an edge, but you can still draw parallels to impact and investing by simply investing on a communal basis in the stock market, finding ways to invest collectively, or at least spread the knowledge collectively amongst your community so you can bring that bridge home. So we also need to consider the investment implications in today's economic system. Before we drift off, shout out to everybody leaving their likes and their emojis in the comment section, or in the chat rather. Let me know you're in the building. I appreciate y'all. If you have any specific questions, leave a super chat. I'll be glad to get to it for you. But so we need to look at the economic landscape right now. Regardless of what you've heard about which asset class is better, both have been extremely profitable for a good stretch of time lately. We've seen a massive run up in both in the 2020s since COVID, and we saw a pretty significant run up since about 2010, 2011, all the way up until COVID. Give or take 2018 in the stock market was a rough year. But other than that, you literally had a scenario where stocks and real estate couldn't miss for the most part, generally speaking. And 2020 saw a massive run up when inflation got out of control and a lot of money got pumped in the system through stimulus. 2020 saw real estate valuations, rents, as well as the stock market increase significantly. This is very important to understand the economic cycle that we're in, because those cycles deeply impact asset classes. The stock market and real estate both can be cyclical, and you can have high and low interest rate, environments that can affect it. The political environment can affect it. Something going on across the world can affect it. There's supply chain issues can affect it. Part of real estate's problem is there's not enough real estate built in the residential side, particularly. You had a run up in materials costs, a lack of investment in new construction, and a high demand for real estate. We have more people in the country, more people have money, more people want to buy. The stock market has its own nuances at play that have affected, its massive run up. Even with interest rates being higher than they've been in over 2 decades, both real estate and stocks have both performed very well, generally speaking. Real estate activity has slowed down tremendously, and still that hasn't been the case. The historical level low activity, it still hasn't dragged prices down with it in most markets. There's exceptions to that rule. I'm in the metro area of New Orleans, Louisiana, and New Orleans has experienced a significant slowdown and price decline in real estate, but that's been the exception and not the rule. So it's important to understand, again, this is why you need to get in on both regardless. I've seen the biggest debate between like Vlad TV and Jay Morrison back, and I've talked about this before. Vlad TV is a huge stock guy, not big on real estate. Jay Morrison was a real estate guy. They're having their conversations. More conversations like this need to be had in our community. Yo, shout out for that. I appreciate that. Who is that? Let me turn my brightness up on here real quick. Up the way Dre. I appreciate that comment, Up the way Dre. I agree. That's why we having this live stream right now. Credit cousin. I have some secret sauce. Invest in one thing for a period of time. Once you have gains or cash flow, roll it over to the different. Absolutely. That was where we were going next. That was going to go towards the end. You got in on it early, credit cousin. But that is a big fact. Definitely building up, concentrating and being a contrarian investor on one asset class, nailing it, laying it down, and then turning around and using that investment to get into the other. And you can do that beautifully between real estate and stocks. I'm going to get into that when I get into the more professional breakdown for you on the second half of this live stream. So what I want to say is getting in on either one has been very advantageous in the last really 10 to 15 years, give or take. We've had breaks in that here and there, but for the most part, there's been a smart move in either occasion to be in stocks or real estate, and ideally in both, because there's separate benefits to each one. So the current economic cycle that we're in, we're about to go into what seems to be a rate cutting environment. Stocks have been still through the roof. Real estate has still been through the roof. Affordability for both has been at its worst. And we're and interest rates were supposed to suppress it. I guess technically it did, because if interest rates never went up, maybe the stock market and real estate would be even further through the roof than they are right now. But the reality of it is it didn't make either one very much more affordable. Now we're coming out of that cycle and we're dealing with a scenario where rates are about to be cut. The Fed's funds rate, for those who are curious what I'm referring to with rates, the Federal Reserve's Fed fund rate is a huge influencer to the rest of the interest rates in the market. So think mortgage rates, auto loan rates, debt rates, all of that contributes to the stock market, and all of that contributes to real estate. So we're going into a cycle likely where rates are going to start getting cut persistently for some time to come. And that's going to lead to a scenario where, as I shot on a previous live stream, actually, I just shot on my last live stream, I covered the Federal Reserve and the rate cutting cycle and how that's going to impact generational wealth and the racial wealth gap and all that stuff, right? But that's going to lead to a scenario where money's going to flow through the system, credit and liquidity is going to flow into the system more. It's going to become more affordable, like debt's going to get cheaper. Companies are going to be able to borrow more. Individuals are going to be able to borrow more. And assets like stock valuations and stock prices in real estate, residential real estate, commercial real estate, are going to get, they're going to become more expensive because the demand for them are likely going to pick up when it comes to the real estate side. But stocks is going to influence the company's ability to function, to grow, to invest, to borrow money. So their valuations are going to pick up. Consumers are likely going to end up having more credit in their hands or debt in their hands. And so they're going to end up buying more things, and these companies are going to get more activity. So there's a cycle we're likely headed into. It's not a guarantee. There's some concerns we can end up in a scenario where rates are cut and still end up in a recession and slow down economic activity. That's possible. But the likelihood that we can see at the moment is that stocks or real estate are still going to be smart places to be. There's no crystal ball on which one's going to crash or have a correction. Ultimately, both have gone up over time. It's brilliant to be in both. Let me check the comment section for a second. Yeah, up the way Dre talking about credit cousins strategy or recommendation is starting with one and then rolling over to the other once you built it up. Money is easy, putting it into practice is hard. Yeah, that's fair to see. That's very fair to see. So hopefully we've distilled. Let me know in the chat. Have we distilled the idea that being in real estate or stocks is a smart idea regardless? And let me know where y'all are with this. Are you guys real estate heavy? Are you stock heavy? Let me know in the chat what you either own the most of or what you plan to get in on the most in the chat. We can expand the conversation. I want to know live where you guys sit. Let me know. Let me know where y'all at with it real quick. So A financial professional helps a client decide between investing in stocks or real estate by performing a deep analysis of the client's finances and financial behavior. By understanding the client's circumstances and weighing the difference between the two asset classes, the professional can recommend the best path or create a diversified portfolio that can include both. Shout out to the credit cousin. The feds could cut the rates all they want if the prices of homes are too high, real estate and stocks. Yeah, you're talking about affordability with real estate, credit cousin. Listen, yeah, they can cut rates for a little while, for a short window of time. It'll make housing more affordable because rates will be down and prices won't immediately pick back up. It's not that fast. But yes, absolutely. As soon as they drop the hammer down on one side of the seesaw, the other one's going up. Rates gonna go down, prices are likely gonna go up. That is likely what's gonna happen because you're gonna increase demand when you haven't fixed the supply problem. There's still a shortage of affordable and entry-level homes across the country. So with that being the case, and that being a large pool of buyers, and you're increasing the people that can afford to get into these homes, interest rates being down is only gonna pick prices up. But you have to understand the system doesn't have a problem with that, generally speaking. As long as they can get you to afford it just enough, even if it's becoming unaffordable, but they can find a way to get you to keep buying it or trying to buy it or invest in it, it really doesn't matter to the system because the system wants to inflate real estate and stocks. I agree, credit cousin. I'm in on both as well. I am in on both as well, for sure. Anybody else, let me know in the chat where y'all stand. So what I just covered about the professional breakdown as we get into the second half of this live stream, the goal of the second half, again, is to, as a financial professional, do my best to give you a lens on what it would look like if I was working with you one-to-one and trying to help you decipher which route you should go. What I just read to you is basically called suitability for us as financial professionals and fiduciaries. Our goal, sorry about that, I want to make sure my mic was still good. Our goal is to find out what investments are going to be best suitable for you. I'm extremely late to the party as far as this money game. Hindsight is always 2020. So yes, I wish I would have started my financial literacy journey 10 years ago. Hey, listen, I understand that. Better late than never. Facts. And I'm in, they're different, in 3 different states. Shout out to you, credit cousin. You over here flexing, talking about you in on 3 different states. Get busy, my guy. I hope you get in all 50 states before it's all said and done. Up the way, Dre. Listen, I haven't seen you in the chat before, so I'm going to assume this might be your first time tuning in, and hopefully you subscribe. I'm going to assume you liked because I see some likes on here. Listen, I want to make it abundantly clear this channel is all about financial literacy, financial strategy, smart, timely, sensible, no clickbait, no gimmicks, no games. Credit cousin that you're replying to in the chat also has a YouTube channel. He's a fellow YouTube content creator. He leans in the finance space as well. Legitimate content creator that gives you real, legitimate financial strategy. So I respect the fact that you wish you started 10 years ago. I shot a video about 6 months ago talking about how I missed out on a phenomenal financial cycle the last 10 to 12 years back. Had I started in real estate effectively, in stocks effectively, I didn't have my head on straight. So I understand that. But I am telling you right now that as long as you're alive and functioning, none of us know how long we're going to be here. But as long as you're getting started now and taking your time on a random Wednesday night to tune in and learn about these things, firsthand advice, guidance, knowledge, wisdom, then you're doing the right thing. And I assure you, if you stick with it, you'll get the results. You'll get the results. You will get there. You will look out in 10 more years and be proud that you started now. All right, up the way, Dre. So stay focused and keep your head on for sure. I'm heavy in stocks right now, looking to get into real estate within the next 5 years. That sounds good. Is that primary residence? Is that investing in real estate? Specifically, where's your entry point for real estate? I want to be in 48, don't want to be in New York or California. You know what? Shout out to that, credit cousin. I actually agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. So 48 out of 50 sounds good. Yeah, I would agree with that. California and New York can have it right now, to be honest with you. All right, yo, let's get into this. Let's get into this client analysis. So it's called suitability for us as professionals, okay? Understanding your financial situation and understanding your behaviors. So up the way, Dre, you being an example client, if I was sitting here helping to assist you transition from stock investing or like continuing stock investing, and then helping you to bridge over to real estate, I'm going to sit down with you and try to figure out the depths of your financial situation. And I'm going to want to learn more about your financial behavior through a sequence of effective questioning. So this is kind of what this looks like. This is a synopsis. It's not going to be every single thing because, again, it's generalized. I don't know your specific situation, but I want to know your time horizon first. This is one big thing I want to know: time horizon. So an advisor or financial professional determines a client's investment timeline. Stocks are generally better for long term, while real estate can provide steady and reliable income for those nearing retirement. That's a generic, generalized breakdown. But I'm going to want to know your time horizon. I'm also going to want to learn your risk tolerance. A client's comfort with volatility is key as a key factor. Stocks are known for higher short-term volatility, while physical real estate is often viewed as more stable. However, real estate still has risks such as market crashes and vacancies. So, capital availability. Real estate requires a significant upfront investment for a down payment and closing costs, while stocks are accessible with a much smaller initial investment. Investment knowledge. A professional assesses the client's understanding of the markets. A client with expertise in local property market might be preferred as a real estate or for real estate, while one less time or knowledge may be preferred hands-off nature of stocks, especially through index funds. In plain English, because I fumbled over that one, you may have really good expert understanding of your local real estate market or a real estate market in general. Now that investing out of state is becoming common, the stock market may be better if you don't have a ton of acumen or financial literacy around it, because it's more passive and tends to ride its way up over time. The stock market can be a really attractive option, generally speaking. Desired involvement. Real estate is a hands-on investment that requires time for property management, unless a professional is hired, which you got to manage the manager at that situation, which cuts into returns. Stocks are a more passive investment that needs a little effort beyond initial research and selection. Needs little effort. Financial goals. An advisor determines a client's primary objective. If the goal is long-term growth and higher returns, stocks may be a better fit. If the goal is stable cash flow, i.e. rental income, tax advantages, real estate could be superior. There's some people who will argue the returns on real estate versus stocks, but stocks generally have a more straightforward return on investment. Real estate's investment is broken down in a lot more ways than stocks generally are. Stock is going to be appreciation, potentially income if you're doing dividends. Real estate can be broken down in principal pay down, tax benefits, appreciation, cash flow. There's a multitude of ways to weigh the value and the returns in real estate, so it gets a little convoluted. So if we gave a comparison, if I gave a professional comparison on real estate versus stocks, the first thing we're going to look at is returns. When we look at stocks, higher average returns. The stock market has historically delivered higher average returns, though this comes with higher short-term volatility. Leverage, but lower average returns. While average returns from appreciation are typically lower, the ability to use leverage, a mortgage, can magnify the returns on an initial down payment when it comes to real estate. So again, it's tough to do returns on real estate versus stocks. They're looking at a straight out return of like appreciation between the two. And that's not really fair to real estate, because there's 3 or 4 other ways to weigh the returns on real estate. So let's be fair with that one. Liquidity. Stocks are going to be much more liquid than real estate typically can be. Diversification is easier with stocks, it's more difficult with real estate. Control, lower with stocks, higher with real estate. Cash flow, unpredictable with stocks, typically more steady with real estate. Tax advantages. Stock market, a little complex to get tax benefits on stocks. It's not impossible, but it's not as common, not as robust, not as broad, and it's a bit more complex. Real estate is superior for tax advantages. There's no other asset class or form of economic participation that gets you better returns when it comes to tax advantages. Accessibility. The stock market is higher. real estate is lower. That's a general breakdown of comparison between the two asset classes. And let me know if y'all need me to go back over any of that if need be. So that helps you get an idea of, generally speaking, what might be more viable for you if you're looking to invest in stocks or real estate and you haven't gotten started, or you're in on one and trying to figure out if the other makes sense. Returns, liquidity, diversification, control, cash flow, tax advantages, accessibility. These things, along with your personal financial picture, can help you get a better understanding of where you should be focused. When it comes to generational wealth, when it comes to the racial wealth gap, when it comes to the overall wealth gap in the country, regardless of ethnic or racial background, the reality on the ground is that you need to get in on one and you need to lock in on one and stay focused. This is where what Credit Cousin said in the chat a minute ago about, focus on one, get really good on one, get great in a great space on one, and roll your way over to the other. An example of doing this on either scenario, if you do it with stocks, you build up a significant stock portfolio. And one of the best ways to get into the stock market is through retirement accounts at your job. Too many of you are not participating in that, especially in the Black community. God damn it. If there's not a shortage of engagement and investment in retirement accounts in the Black community when it comes to exercising this at your employer, it's part of your compensation package. I've shot multiple videos about how powerful the 401k can be, despite the criticisms. Despite the criticisms from financial professionals and content creators, the 401k, 403b, SEP, IRAs, whatever, they're great fundamental foundational pillars to investing in the stock market. They're great. They're straightforward. It's much closer to sit and forget it. And you're getting your employer to pour money into it as a part of your compensation. You got your contribution, employer contribution, and you have market gains. It's a wonderful way to get engaged in the stock market. So you start there, generally speaking. You grow it to a certain point. You might either retire, you might leave your job, you might leave working for employers altogether. Now you roll that over into an independent, managed account of your own. You can roll it over out of a 401k, out of whatever retirement asset, without any tax penalties, by the way, as long as it's going into the proper, suitable vehicle to be rolled over into, a managed investment fund of some sort, something like that. Now you have your own stock portfolio. You've been at your job a certain window of time and everything accumulated up. You got yourself $150,000, $200,000 in stocks, whatever the case may be. Now you're at a sizable enough stock portfolio to do a securities-based line of credit, one of my favorite financial tools. This is what the rich and the wealthy use. They use securities-based lines of credit to invest in other assets, to invest in their businesses, and to even fund their lifestyle. They get sturdy, large stock portfolios together. A securities-based line of credit, for those of you who don't know, is where you collateralize your existing stock portfolio and you go to the bank, where the bank or the broker that their money's being managed at, and you say, listen, I want to use a certain portion. Usually you can go up to about 50% or so of that portfolio. Every institution might be a little different, but 50% is a good baseline. 30 to 50% of that portfolio, borrow against it and a line of credit at a low fixed rate, no credit required, very little to no documentation because it's already collateralized. And you can take that money and do whatever the hell you want with it. So if you got $200,000 in a stock portfolio and a managed fund, you can borrow up to $100,000 of it. You can go invest in real estate all you want now. That's called double dipping. That's what my guy Credit Cousin was talking about early and got ahead of the game in the chat. A securities-based line of credit will allow you the ability to take that $100,000 out of that $200,000, borrow. Your portfolio is still working the whole $200,000, by the way. In case you're wondering, your money's still at work, 100%. This is how you double dip. This is how the wealthy catapult their wealth. This is how they catapult it. My $200,000 is still at work growing. I'm turning around and taking $100,000 and jumping into rental properties or whatever form of real estate investing you're interested in. Now, I got a low rate. I got flexible repayment terms. You might only have an interest-only payment, some flexible repayment terms. I didn't need credit. It's not showing up on my credit report. And I can deploy it in real estate and go give me a double-digit return in real estate. Now we getting busy. Now we getting busy. We start backwards. Most of us have kids before we open our first 401k. Tell me about it. I'm one of those people who did it. I had kids before I was invested, or at least a child. So I understand that. You just dropped the gem on me, brother. Oh yeah, up the way, Dre, for sure. For sure. Let me know in the chat, in the building, you know what I'm saying? Like when we dropping this real information. Yes, sir. You can actually do a securities. Let me ask you this question while I talk before I switch over to real estate going into stocks, up the way, Dre, and everybody else watching. How do you think somebody like Elon Musk, how do you think somebody like Jeff Bezos, how do you think somebody like Warren Buffett, some of these more prominent wealth players, most of their money is in the stock market, right? It's in their company's stock. We understand that so far up the way, Dre? Most of their money is in their stock. So how is it that you think they fund their lifestyle? When their net worth gets reported, do you think that that's just cash in the bank? No, my friend, it's stock positions. It's stocks that they own in their own company. They don't pay themselves salaries, hardly at all, if at all. They pay themselves in stock options. So they buy stocks of their company, and many of you don't understand it. If you're working for a decent finance size company, you can do employee stock purchase plans. It's not the same as being an owner or a president or CEO of the company necessarily. But like, for instance, where the financial institution I work for, my employee stock purchase plan allows me to buy the stocks of the company I'm working for at 15% discount. 15% discount out of the gate, on top of whatever appreciation the stock gets. I have a built-in 15% discount. So up the way, Dre, how do you think Elon Musk funds his lifestyle? Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg. How do you think, if their money is rooted in the net worth that we see promoted on Forbes and all these other lists, what they're constantly touted as the richest people in the world? It's not cash. It's not even real estate for a lot of them. It's stock options in the company that they own. It's stock. So how do you spend stock? How do you afford the yachts and the expensive mansions in Maui and the properties all over the world and all this other stuff, the private jets? How do you fund that if your money's all in stock? It's called a securities-based line of credit, asset-based lending. I'm a banker. In case you're new to this, I am a banker. I'm around this stuff every day. I don't work with Jeff Bezos every day, but I work with 6, 7, and sometimes 8-figure individuals in my financial institution that I work for. So I see this firsthand all the time. They build their assets up, like Credit Cousin suggested. They get to a certain point, and then they diversify later. They take their money and they start a business or invest in a business. They take their money and they buy real estate. So stock security-based line of credit is a golden ticket, hidden nugget to the wealth game. Literally, that one lending tool alone is literally a financial hack in itself. So hopefully that opens your eyes. I can tell that really impacted you up the way, Dre. Hopefully that opens your eyes to what's possible in the banking and the lending system. That's why this entire channel is built on a foundation of mastering relationship banking and mastering and maximizing your borrowing capacities, maximizing your ability to access capital. I teach all these different strategies from all these different angles. It could be something like, credit card approval strategies, hacks, and tricks, all the way up to complex financial strategies like securities-based lines of credit. I cover all of that from these different angles to teach you how important the real wealth game is played in the banking system. I know because I'm in it. I'm helping clients with it every day. And I'm mentored and working with bankers who are high net worth bankers. I'm right there. In case you're wondering, I'm still not talking out of my ass. I literally have guys that are working with me one-to-one sometimes, or connecting with me, that I'm working with, that are kind of borderline mentoring me, that their clients have to have 5 million, 25 million and up before they can even qualify to work with them. So just putting that out there for you. We can give you the information, but you will use it and live by it. This is the lifestyle. Big facts. as you build your career with the company, research the company to see if they have stock options within that company. So start with them paying you cash as for stock options. That's right. Much appreciated information. I'm tapped in 1000%. Yo, Credit Cousin is cracking another gem that I just talked about. Employee stock purchase plans, stock option plans. Yo, if you working for big companies, they do this all day. I literally have one of my investment clients. He rolled over, he worked for Amazon. He was a mid-level or is a mid-level executive. He travels nationally, with them in his position. And his income is split in salary and stock options. He's a mid-level exec. He's not Jeff Bezos by any means. Now, he's not the guy delivering on a truck either, no disrespect, but he's a six-figure earner, but he's a mid-level exec. He has stock options. So when he came over, I'm helping him with like restricted stocks and unrestricted stock. I'm helping him trying to roll over his stock. The tax implications of him rolling over, is it restricted or unrestricted? I know I'm getting into the weeds and talking high level jargon, but I'm just talking about what Credit Cousin's pointing out. It gets deep. And many of you, too many of you, are working for these decent sized companies and you're so busy bitching and complaining and whining about working for them and how you want to have your own business. You're not realizing you being an employee is the beginning of your financial journey. It's the beginning of you becoming an investor. It's the beginning of you becoming a business owner. If you don't know how to maximize the assets and the resources available at your job that are handed to you, it's part of your compensation package. It's one of the first things you get when you get orientated with the company. And you don't even know how to flip through that and find the benefits. How the hell are you going to run a company and start a company and be successful? How are you going to become a successful investor and know how to find opportunities and navigate that? Why do you think even with me being where I am, for those of you, I have a six-figure net worth position right now. I make pretty good income. Like, I have my YouTube channel, I have business going on. Why do you think I'm still working for the company I work for? First off, I'm learning too much to walk away right now. I'm a banker working for a significant size financial institution that is giving me access to way too much knowledge. I'm getting too many connections. I'm getting speaking engagements, so on and so forth. So there's too much opportunity for one, growing my network and my net worth. Number two, I'm still busy taking advantage of the 401k, the compensation package, the employee stock purchase plan that I'm getting at a 15% discount on the stocks. I'm still building my assets up and working my way up the food chain in that company to keep making more and more connections. I'm milking this opportunity for everything I have. I've literally gotten legal documentation done that the company's paid for. My company paid for my trust to get set up, power of attorneys to get set up if something happens to me, like my company paid for that stuff. Hello? Anybody? Somebody? My company paid for that stuff, yo. Walmart, Chipotle, Target, name it. Costco, name it. Amazon, Google, name it. Companies y'all working for that y'all taking for granted. Lowe's, Home Depot. These companies have options, yo. They have benefits. There's discounts on stuff. My company paid for my trust to get set up, yo. Did y'all hear that part? Part of my legacy planning, a trust. You hear all of this mythical, the trust. Ooh, set up the trust. I'm going to set up a trust. All that hype. My company paid for that, yo. Paid for it. So I'm trying to figure out how Palantir. Come on, Credit Cousin, talk to him. Talk to him. So anyway, we getting off stuff. We're on a whole nother live stream at this point. But anyway, real estate to stock is the same thing. It's an asset class. And as long as it's a performing asset, it can be collateralized. So how do you go from we already talked about how you go from stocks to real estate, or at least one good example. It's not the only way, but it's one of the most respectable and prominent ways to go. Real estate is the same thing. Your real estate produces cash flow. Your real estate builds equity through principal pay down and market gain, right? You have the option to collateralize it by borrowing against it, either through a home equity line of credit, a cash out refinance, or if you have big boy real estate, you can do asset-based lending as you did with the stocks. So they will just collateralize your whole real estate portfolio or a portion of your real estate portfolio. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of the banks that are right here in your backyard that some of y'all bank with have wealth management, private bank, private client. They have these divisions of the bank that do these things. Y'all wonder why my whole channel is based around banking and the banking system. This is why. Rich people don't even talk about their banking relationships and how it's catapulted their wealth. They give y'all all of the sexy, marketed, easy clickbait stuff. They don't tell you what I'm teaching you on this channel. And that's why this channel isn't growing faster. It's doing okay, but it isn't growing fast. I'm 700 uploads in, almost 3 years in December. My channel is not doing the numbers these other channels are doing because I'm not clickbaiting y'all all day. Credit Cousin is in here the same way. He and I started our journey within months of each other, to my memory. That's how we came across each other. Same thing. We're putting out real content, real strategy that you can take off this live or take off my video and go to your bank or go to your lender and put into play. Start going your credit report and put into play. I'm not clickbaiting you. I refuse. I got 700 uploads. You can't go through one of them while they put up some scammy clickbait. How to hack the bank scam this one, run up the play on that one, run off the bag on this one. Not one video, 700 uploads, not one. I have the knowledge and the insight to have a 100,000 subscriber, every video getting 50,000 view channel because I can talk that. I can do it all day. If I can teach you this, I can run scams and plays all day. I can. If I can teach you this complex ish right here, I can give you clickbait content. I can. I make a choice through integrity. I'd rather have a few of you that are real, that really want to learn, that really want to elevate, that really want to grow. I'd rather build a community of you, and it take me forever to get to whatever subscriber count and watch time counts. It took me forever to monetize the channel. But I'd rather that slowly painful route. Of course I want to get there. Of course I wanted my channel to take off. But I'm not willing to compromise my integrity as a financial professional, as a content creator, and as a fiduciary to you. And if you don't know what that means that I have an obligation as a fiduciary to protect you and focus on your well-being. As a client, when you as a viewer, I am a fiduciary to you as a viewer. So my goal is to put out real legitimate content. I do my best to package it where the algorithm can pick it up. But at the end of the day, I'm not about to turn a flip on you. So anyway, the real estate side is the same thing. The big boy game is asset-based lending, whether stocks or real estate. This is what Credit Cousin was alluding to. Once you build up a decent sized portfolio of real estate or stocks, and I'm going to give you another strategy on getting in on real estate. I told you how to get in on stocks. Start with your employer. Start with your employer. Start with your retirement accounts. The easiest, most handheld way to get in the stock market, because you can call your HR department and get guidance. Should I do a Roth? Should I do a traditional 401k? How much should I contribute? What are the tax differences? You can call your HR department and they will help you. Excuse me, y'all. They will help you. So I'm going to tell you the real estate way to get in and build up a real estate portfolio. Slow and steady, but effective. House hacking. House hacking. You buy a piece of property. If you go FHA, is low down payment, low closing costs, generally speaking. That's the common way. You can do FHA, you can do conventional. Because there's a lot of programs and grants on conventional. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos around all of the grant programs available to get in on real estate, because that's where a lot of money is going. So I got y'all. Let me know in the chat if that's something y'all looking forward to. Y'all want to see more content about banks and CDFIs and minority deposit institutions and all these companies with these grants and these programs around home ownership, because there's a lot of them. If you want more content, drop it in the chat down below. But house hacking, especially multifamily properties. I'm gifted. I'm from New Orleans, and I still live in the metro area of New Orleans. We have a ton of 2 to 4 unit properties in our city. A ton of it. Extremely common to see 2 to 4 unit properties. So it's a godsend. You can do this with single family, by the way. Don't get it twisted. But it is much more exciting and much faster to scale into multifamily. Buy your first property, stay in it 1 year, low down payment, get it rented out, buy the next one in 12 to 13 months. And do that every year until you got a real estate portfolio. Mic drop, computer closed, live stream ended. It's over. I'm gonna holler at y'all. It's done. There's nothing else to do. I just gave it to you. That's the game. It's done. I could have gave you a big long clickbaity video and ran you through 10 sales funnels to get you that information. I could have did that. Y'all leave me a super chat. Leave me a super thanks. Leave me some love on the channel. This is why I'm talking about supporting people who are pouring into you. I said at the end of every video and every live stream. Support the channel so the channel can keep supporting you. That's the name of the game. Get in on a respectable real estate loan. Get all the goddamn grant money you can get your hands on so you can limit the cash you put into the deal. Buy in an attractive area. Do your due diligence and buy in an attractive area. Single family to 4 units, whatever you can get your hands on. Stay in there 1 year and move your ass out and buy the next property and keep this one as a rental. It's over. It's done. Do that over and over until you're tired of it. Until you got enough property and enough rentals and enough income and enough equity to working your job is optional. So you can go to your bank in the private bank division and asset-based lending and take your real estate portfolio and borrow $100,000, $200,000, $400,000 and go drop it into the stock market in the S&P 500 and just watch it get 10% a year on average. That's it. Mic drop. It's done. Mic is over. I'm just sitting here looking pretty for y'all. That's it. It's over. Like passive income, the dream. Yeah, big facts. James Murphy. Sergio, hi. What up, Sergio? As you learn more, you will find out everyone is finessing you. That's a fact. The more you learn, the more you look around. Absolutely. That's a fact, credit cousin. The goal is to tell you the truth so you and your family can be free. That's a fact. Big facts. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. Leave a like on the video if y'all coming in new. Yo, what are we talking about? Sergio, you missed like an hour, but I'm going to recap you for a second. So what we were covering is a divide of what's the best investment avenue between stocks and real estate, especially if you're from the minority community and dealing with the back end of the wealth gap. Doesn't matter. I really make my content for pretty much everybody, but I will absolutely emphasize Black and Brown America because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are fighting an uphill battle. We're covering the difference in stocks and real estate, what has been a better investment or where's the best investment, how to figure out what's the best fit for you. And now we're in a conversation at this point where we're talking about how you can start with one and bridge over to the other. Build up a stock portfolio and bridge over to a real estate portfolio. Build up a real estate portfolio and bridge over to a stock portfolio. We were covering, the best ways to get into the stock market, covering the best ways to get into real estate and build a portfolio up, and accessible ways to do that. The ways that many of us ignore and pass up because it's not sexy enough, it's not cool enough. We don't, we're not paying attention. We miss it. So that's kind of where we at, Sergio. James Murphy, we want our properties to free up some money to invest in gradual growth stocks. Yes, James, actually that's correct. We want to own property, have that property build equity. We mortgage pay down, principal pay down, creating that spread of equity. If it's real estate investing and we're getting rental income, we want rental income. And we want to take that money, whether we deal with the equity or we got enough cash flow coming in from the rental, and we want to get into respectable growth stocks that are predictable, that we know are going to continue to do well over time. That is the general name of the game. That's funny, Sergio. Bye. You are doing the work, sir. It's fast. It's not fast, but we see real returns this way. Facts. Hey, James, listen. From one James to another, because that's my name as well. Trust me, it's brutal being legitimate in the content creation space. It is brutal. Like, brutal. And Credit Cousin, if he's still in the building, we'll let you know he's a content creator as well. It is rough. James K. I got a bunch of Jameses in the building. I don't know where the hell y'all coming from, but shout out to all the Jameses in the building. One James for another James. So, yeah, James, Murphy, definitely I appreciate you commenting and saying that, and I will not let up. Again, as I said, I'm 700 Like the Spider-Man scene. That's hilarious. Hey, you're the no, it's you. Yeah, it's you. That's funny. That's true. Like at the end of the day, I'm gonna stay true to my content. I'll pivot things as things come along. It took forever to monetize the channel, taking forever to generate the revenue consistently on the channel. But I'm not gonna pivot on any of y'all that are serious about what you're doing because I know that there's ones out there like you that are authentic, that are looking for real content. You don't want the clickbait, you don't want the run up the bag talk. You want real, legitimate, smart financial strategies, balanced financial strategies, how to take risks, when to take risks, how to manage and navigate the relationships that really matter with your banks, with your lenders, the financial and the credit skills that are required to really navigate the game legitimately, that are useful, that are actually going to help you scale up your wealth in a real way. So that's what we talk about. How to navigate the financial system. I'm not going to give you the boring Dave Ramsey BS. I'm not going to give you the clickbaity, to this point, low-key Robert Kiyosaki talk where every single thing is about the crash, just to crash that. I'm not going to do that to you on either end of the spectrum. We're going to talk real finances, real economics, and real strategies that's going to help move the needle for those of us that are serious, because there are a lot of us out there that are under the radar that are serious about what we're doing. And we're just looking for real content and real leaders, real content creators, real professionals to get the information from so we can employ it. I got my first decent job where I'm making 60K. Shout out to you. I feel like for the first time I can save money. Man, that's huge. That's huge. Big shout out to you. Big shout out to you. Job stability is the foundation to building financial freedom. You should be very proud of yourself because as a financial professional and a banker who works with working class, even honestly, all the way from the poor to the working class, all the way up to 6, 7, 8-figure network clients every day, as well as small businesses, by the way. I'm a business banker as well. I work with individuals, and I can't tell you how many people take their job for granted. And I don't know how far you've been in on the live stream, but I talked about how the really the most attractive and number one way to get into the stock market is your job. A decent company, man, I could literally take y'all one-on-one, and if y'all working for a decent sized company, and just walk through your benefits package with you and help you make and save more money. I told you I'm taking advantage of everything at my company, the financial institution I work for. The 401k match, they give me bonuses every year in my 401k. When the company's earnings are well, they give us 4-figure bonuses in our 401k, like across the company. For the most part, you got to make us like a certain salary or less, right? So like they're not giving it to people the same way as people who make $200,000 a year. You got to make under a certain salary. But at the end of the day, for those of us that make under 150, we get bonuses. We get a 401k match. I got an employee stock purchase plan where I'm getting 15% discount on my company stock. They pay for legal documentation and processes. As I stated earlier in the live stream, if you weren't here for it, my company literally paid for my trust to get set up. Literally with a legitimate full-scale attorney. My trust, power of attorney, and will all got paid for by the institution I work for. If y'all are sleeping on the companies y'all work for, a lot of y'all are sleeping. The benefits in the company, they don't just pay, like y'all are so busy with the hourly wage and the salaries, and that's great. It's the bottom line money that you see. I understand it. But I talk about my compensation. Yes, I don't mind talking about what I make, salary and commission and earnings that way. But when I talk about my compensation, I make a 6-figure compensation in total. I don't just talk about income, there's compensation. Net worth of Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, these people are getting compensation. It's not their salary. We have to get out of that. Oh, they pay $30 an hour. Oh, they make 70 grand a year. Yes, that's important. That's cool. That's cool. But what about your compensation? My employee stock purchase plan and my 401k could outpace my salary one day if I stay at it long enough. My employee stock purchase plan, and if I put enough into it at a 15% discount and the company keeps growing and the equity of that stock keeps growing, and I got my 401k getting matched bonuses and market gains, that can end up outpacing my salary, because by the time taxes and deductions come out, I ain't seeing none of it any goddamn way, and I make a good income. You see what I'm saying? Like my income part is still right at that threshold of 6 figures, upper 5 to 6 figures. So at the end of the day, That's just that part of it. My whole compensation, though, is a whole nother package. It's a whole nother conversation. You see what I'm saying? With me making part of my compensation from commissions and bonuses, my income fluctuates, so I can't pinpoint it per se. I get salary, I get compensation, I get bonuses, but there's a total compensation package, and many of you have to start paying better attention. Let me get on these comment section for a second. Hell yeah, I got a stable local government job. I no longer work strange hours, and my schedule doesn't change anymore. Shout out to that. What about the untouched value of time consistency? I can predict my life a little bit now. I know if I got weekends or not. I know what I can do with my evenings. My salary is stable, my time is stable. It's a government job. There might be 403Bs or some other retirement plan. Please tell me you're in on it. If not, please tell me when you get your ass back to work tomorrow, you're going to get started. Get in on every benefit that job has to offer. Retirement accounts, anything they got discounts on stuff, whatever it is, get in on it. Good job, James Murphy. James Murphy, lower your lifestyle, start with a basic life, no high-end cars, things like that. Facts, James Murphy. Also, if they offer life insurance there, my company, I'm dealing with life insurance through the financial institution I work for. I'm doing life insurance. They gave me traveler's insurance. I have to do all kind of different ways that I hopefully won't die from. But I have in various forms of insurance through my job, life insurance through my job. I have all kind of stuff in place. I got insurance for my kids. You guys have got to maximize. If you take the actual dollar value of all your benefits, your compensation is much broader than your salary. I promise you. Let's see. My opinion, yeah, you want some liquid in the cut as far as savings, but the majority of your bread should be working. At James Murphy. That's a fact. Up the way, Dre. Definitely. You want some liquidity, but I've shot multiple videos criticizing over-saving. There's absolutely a thing called over-saving for sure. And you're hearing it out of a banker's mouth. It is not a good idea to sit overly in cash. I ain't gonna lie, guys. I saved up some money and bought a new dirt bike because I love riding trails in my area. I can't knock you. I got a motorcycle. I ride a sport bike, so I can't get on your back too bad for that. But at the end of the day, be mindful, bro. Be mindful of the cost you're running up. I'm not telling you not to enjoy life. At some point, you have to find things that help you get away and make it feel worth it. So don't penalize yourself for that. I literally go to work all day. I'm a father and I create content multiple times a week. You see, I'm on a live stream on a big Wednesday night for over an hour. I absolutely want something during the week at some point in time or weekend that I can go do that's just for me, that I can enjoy myself. So James Murphy, as long as you're holding it down, doing your work, smart with your money, learning like you're doing now, you spent X amount of $1,000 on a dirt bike and you enjoying yourself. Stay safe out there, because I done had a couple of wrecks that I done got lucky. Stay safe out there, but enjoy yourself, man. But just be prudent. Put your money to work. After you do the right thing with your money, go enjoy yourself a little bit. JP, I don't like to promote myself on somebody else's live. It's not about me. It's about helping you and your subscribers. I have a gift to help. That's it. Yo, shout out to you, Credit Cousin. I ain't got no, listen, first off, that's honorable and respectful to not come in and try to jump in and do that. That's disrespectful. It would have been disrespectful to do so. Shout out to having the integrity to not do that. But every time I see you in the chat or in the comment section, I'm going to let people know you're in the building and that you're a content creator and to go to your channel as well. So I have no problem doing that. But it's because you have the kind of integrity and character that you do that I don't have a problem doing that. Because if you weren't, then we'd have a problem. You're very respectable. You're an upstanding guy from my experience. And I appreciate you always coming in the chat, helping out, giving advice, giving guidance without even letting people know who you really are. So shout out to you, Credit Cousin. I appreciate you. Oh, yes, I have a 401k that I invest in now. Good man. Match the hell out of it, James Murphy. Match the hell out of it. As in, put everything you can afford to put into it, for sure. Especially until you get other assets going. Put into it. Like I'm literally I'm damn near at 20% into my 401k, yo, if you want context. Like that's where I'm at. And that's even with everything else I'm striving to do. But my goal is to get to where I can max it out, because you can put up to nearly $24,000 a year into your 401k. Imagine being able to max that out, getting market gains, getting 3 to 5% or whatever from your company and your own contributions and whatever. Like you could be stacking up a big knot, big knot. I also signed up for Allstate accident insurance that I also pay $5 for every month. Accidental death insurance, life insurance. If you got any kids, whatever your situation is, make sure everybody's insured and get as many benefits as you can from your job and the companies that you're already doing insurance through. Smart move with Allstate. Equity conversation. Facts. They paid me $2,000, $2,000 for a broken bone last year. Okay, question for you, James. I'm gonna actually look out for you on this one, James. I usually do super chats on the questions, but I got you for this one. Okay, question for you, James. If your job offered a few $1,000s a year for college classes, would you take advantage? Josiah said hi. I guess I'm saying your name right, Josiah Caesar. Hi. I asked because I already have bachelor's, and I wonder if it's still worth my time to work more, take more classes. That's a great question. The way I assess that, James, you really have to weigh if it's going to give you a monetary return. If you have your job that's willing to pay for you to expand your education, which mine does the same thing and I've been dabbling with, if they're going to cover licenses, certifications, or flat out degree programs, I encourage it if it's going to literally directly contribute to your financial situation. Like if you can get a really foreseeable job promotion, like if you can level up with that, then I encourage it. I am a very split proponent when it comes to college and higher education. Generally, it's a good thing. You're likely going to have a better outcome in the economic system. But we're in a world today, in an economic system today, where there are other things, that can be a better use of your time. So before you take on more classes, could you be doing something else to generate more income? Is one question I have. Is there something else? Is there another skill or something else you could be doing? Or are you taking the classes and furthering your education? You see a direct pathway to your next level up in your career and in your income and your salary. That's a general breakdown of how I would assess that. But the benefit of the job paying for those classes or covering some portion of reimbursing is brilliant. If you're gonna go that route, I think it's great for sure. I might be able to use completed college classes as leverage when asking for a raise during annual review. For sure. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you see a direct pathway to make money or to advance your career or to like increase your pay or whatever, then yes, as long as you are confident there's nothing else productive you could be doing to make money or to better position yourself. That's all I would say to be mindful of, because I don't want to just blindly or anything with college and then go back, of course, get more and more degrees. Like that's not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case. Sometimes you can go out and do gig work and that could serve you better because you're generating income that could be poured into something else. Like there's a lot of ways to look at it, and if you could generate other income or like there's another certification program or something else you could be doing that can better position you, then it needs to be weighed out. But if you have a direct pathway to an increase in your existing salary, a job promotion, another company will take you faster and pay you more, like if you get further educated, then go for it. Absolutely think that that's smart and a good move for sure. I think that's great. Any other questions? Any other questions, comments, thoughts before we close this up? Been another great live stream, very engaging. This is why I appreciate y'all so much. Even when it's just a handful of y'all sometimes in the building, I appreciate y'all because y'all the real ones. Any other questions? I am going to request that it be through Super Chat if it's specific questions. Other than that, if you have any general questions or comments, we can chop on before we get off. I'm all for that for a second. But I do want to close this up shortly. It's going on an hour and a half, or at least an hour and 20. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. For those of you who are looking to connect with me one-on-one, you can leave a comment down below. We can talk about that. Also, once the video or anywhere on my channel, really, you can find links to find out where I specialize and work with me one-on-one. If you are looking to just get some generalized advice, I may be willing to work with you as well in that department, as long as you're supporting the channel and contributing to the time, effort, and energy I'm putting into every single one of you. Credit Cousin, man, of course. Blessings back to you and yours, my guy. Always, always, for sure. Always. I'm going to see you on your channel again soon, for sure. Y'all make sure y'all tune into the Credit Cousin, man. Y'all can look him up on YouTube. He has his own channel. He covers a broad range of topics, but he does lean in on financial literacy and finances on his channel as well. So y'all make sure y'all tune in if y'all want to continue to get some good insight and some good game. Any other questions for some of my engaged pioneers on here? You know, I see y'all really lit the chat up. I appreciate y'all. Anybody got anything before they leave? Leave y'all super thanks, leave y'all likes, leave y'all super chats, leave y'all support on the channel. We just talked about this. What makes this continue to be possible is the support and y'all helping to push this out to the algorithm, sharing this, leaving direct contributions through super chats and super thanks. I am taking the time out to provide this content firsthand at the best quality without dragging y'all through the mud and a bunch of clickbait, sales funnels, you know, sponsorships, all kind of gimmicks and games that y'all get on a lot of other people's channels. So make sure y'all show y'all support. Even $1 or $2 goes a long way. And I'm not begging for nothing. I'm just telling y'all to have enough dignity and honor and respect and appreciation to show some love. Leave some likes, share the video, make sure it gets out. Leave a super thanks, leave a super chat. All right, looks like y'all slowing up in the chat. Anybody got anything else before we get up out of here? Anybody, anything else before we get up out of here for the night? All right, it looks like it's getting quiet. I appreciate y'all. All my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.